Hello and welcome to this special Earth Day webinar brought to you by the team behind the Power Plants project. So my name is Joe and I'm the project manager based at the Nerve Centre. Today I'll also be joined by some of the amazing team at the Eden project in Cornwall, and they'll be giving you a virtual tour that explores just how powerful plants are. Then our creative media trainers Matt and Ruth will walk you through creating your very own plant hero game using MakeCode Arcade. Now, you don't need any experience, you just need to be able to log into the MakeCode Arcade website, and Matt and Ruth will talk you through every step. But before we get to all that, I'd love to tell you a little bit more about the Power Plants project and some of the very exciting things that we have planned. So the Power Plants project was dreamed up by a brilliant artist that you may know, Oliver Jeffers. He's also a writer and children's book illustrator, and I'm sure some of you may have his books at home. So the team here at the Nerve Centre will be working with Oliver, the Eden Project, National Museums NI and the NI Science Festival to bring this project to life. It's a very big team effort, but we're also very excited that you get to be part of it as well. So Power Plants is a project that's all about power. And when I say power, you're probably thinking about electricity or machines, and you'd be right, but we're also talking about all kinds of power. So this could be the power of nature, the power of knowledge, the power of storytelling, and even the power of you. We believe that everyone has the power to help the planet, especially if we work together. And at the heart of the project is something really cool. So we'll be creating giant colorful chimneys, but instead of smoke, there'll be bright, bold flowers growing on top. We want to show how we can reimagine the future and grow something better. These chimneys will be 6 to 8 meters tall, so that's the size of about a two-story house. Or imagine stacking two double-decker buses on top of each other. So really, really big. And they'll be popping up in cities all across the UK, where you can visit them, explore them, interact with them, and learn from them. These chimneys will be going on tour, so they'll be starting in Belfast and traveling around different cities. You may see them pop up in a city near you, and hopefully you'll be able to visit them with your school or your family. On top of that, we have tons of fun events and creative workshops where you can get involved. This will include planting activities in your school or your community. There'll be workshops which will show you how to use digital tools like coding and digital design. They'll help you learn about biodiversity and how we can protect our natural heritage. We'll also be creating our very own Power Plants Minecraft world, where you can play in it to explore the project and learn about how to protect our planet. So loads happening, loads of exciting things to look out for. If you're interested in finding out more and hearing about the latest opportunities, if you can ask a parent or teacher or responsible adult to follow us on our social channels. We're on Facebook and Instagram. Or you can email us on info@powerplants.world for more information. And I'll add all these to the end of the video so it's easily found. So now we're ready to get started. I know we're all going to make something amazing today. So be creative, be powerful, and most of all, have fun. So now it's time to hand over to Juliet and Joe from the Eden Project. They're going to take you on a special tour and show you just how amazing plants are.
Hi, I'm Juliet, and this is my colleague Joe, and we both work at the Eden Project, who are a partner in the Power Plants project. And we work at Eden because we really love plants, and we want you to love them too. And Joe is going to tell you just how powerful they are.
So we got some delicious food here, and food gives us energy and helps build our bodies, as we both know. Nice bit of fresh water, some tasty treats.
Delicious.
Chocolate, pasties.
Love chocolate.
Because we're in Cornwall. We got our clothes. Yeah, just as well. And some lovely fresh air.
Oh,
Then where's it all come from?
I don't know, Joe. Where does it come from?
You know where it all comes from.
I think it might come from plants.
I think it might. These, believe it or not, are pineapples. They grow up like that, and you just get a pineapple sitting on top like a big hat. This massive grass is sugar cane. That's where sugar comes from. And up here, bananas. Can you see the bananas? Bamboo, amazing building material. So tall. And here's a real favourite, chocolate, made from the little beans that grow inside these massive yellow pods. Rubber used in your wellies and racing car tyres comes from a tree. And this grass growing in this water is rice. You can see little seeds of rice here, the ones that we eat. So we get our energy from plants, so where do they get theirs from? The sun. They actually capture the sun in solar panels. And they mix that sunshine with water, which comes up from the ground, and carbon dioxide, which comes from the air. And that's great, because too much carbon dioxide in the air causes climate change. And these guys just suck it in. Amazing. It's called photosynthesis. Photo, using light, synthesis, making things from light. Incredible. So the combination of sunshine and carbon dioxide and water joined together is sugar. Strange but true. And then inside these leaves, there's a lot of chemical wizardry going on, and they make proteins and fats and all the other stuff we need to eat. So there it is. All these are just made of sunshine and carbon dioxide and some water and a few mineral bits and pieces. And we can prove it. If you get a massive great log like this, which is basically a bit of dead tree, and get a grown-up to burn it, you'll end up with a pile of ash about that big. The rest of it has gone back into the air, the carbon dioxide and water's gone back, and all you're left is a few minerals. So, sunshine makes plants. Oh, fresh air. We take 20,000 breaths of air every day to extract the oxygen out of it, because we need it to live. And go to bed, get up, next day, the oxygen's still there. So something is putting it back. Guess who? Plants. When they take the carbon dioxide out of the air, the water out of the soil, combine it with sunshine to make sugar, they have one waste product: oxygen. Rain makes rainforests, and rainforests make rain. So water cycles around and around and around. Soil, trees, clouds, rain, soil, trees, around again. Power plants help keep the weather cool. They suck in this carbon dioxide, keep it out of the air, stop it getting too hot. They sweat, a bit like we're doing in here, and that keeps them cool as the water comes out of the little tiny holes in the leaves. And they make clouds. What's clouds got to do with anything? Well, pale things reflect heat and light, and dark things absorb light and heat, therefore heat. So try this out on your friends. Get a piece of black paper, piece of white paper, mix them up, tell them to shut their eyes, put it in the sun, and then you can guess which one is which, because this one will feel hot and this one will feel cold. Rainforests make clouds, which are white, which reflect light and keep it cool. And when plants die, they rot into the ground and make soil, which captures even more carbon. Brilliant. Plants can't move, so how do they eat? How do they drink? How do they survive danger? How do they have baby plants? So the plants have these green leaves, solar panels, and when they start to grow, they're very soft when they're babies. And they have this some of them have this beautiful sort of pinky red colour. Maybe it's to stop animals eating it, maybe it's sun cream, maybe both. So how do plants drink? They've got no mouths, and we water the soil and it goes into the roots, and then it goes up. Water goes up, 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 up to the very top of the tree. There's no pump. It's all done by the power of the sun. Leaves have got tiny, tiny, tiny little holes in them where the gases, the CO2, carbon dioxide goes in and the oxygen comes out, and also the water comes out. It comes out the top of the plant and makes massive clouds, makes rain, round again, back on the soil, round and round it goes. So how do plants protect themselves if they can't move? They have spikes, some have spines, some have stings, like stinging nettles, and some have poisons. So always ask a grown-up before you try any plant to make sure it's one you can eat. Some are spiky. Ow! You know, we said plants can't move. Well, this one can. Look at it. If something touches it, it sort of collapses and stops it being eaten. It makes it look like a dead plant. Because plants can't move and they need to make seeds, they work with pollinators who move the pollen from one flower to another. So how do you attract the pollinators? You attract things like bees, butterflies, beetles, even birds and bats, by having wonderful colours, wonderful shapes, wonderful smells, and sometimes sweet treats of nectar. This is the jade vine, which is an extraordinary plant, and the shape of the flowers attract bats. Have a look at the flowers around you in the countryside and see how many different colours you can see and different smells, and see if you can see which pollinators are attracted to them. Great to attract pollinators, and this one gives them a drink. Flowers come in all shapes and sizes. These ones start off sort of blue, then turn purple, and then sort of go pink at the end of the day, and they only live for a day. Red ones, yellow ones, white ones, exceedingly weird ones. And this is a flower bud. It's extraordinary. And it grows out of its own little swimming pool of water. And these flowers over here look like cat's tails. So here's 3 cheers for the power plants. They give us fresh air, they give us clean water, they give us delicious, tasty food, and they make us feel happy. What's better than being in nature? So all we have to do is look after the plants, and the plants will look after us, the plants will look after us, and we can look after the plants. A big circle.
We hope you enjoyed that tour with Joe, and now it's time for your next activity.
Thank you so much, Juliet. So Matt and I are here. Hey, Matt. So we're here to take you through how to develop your own original video game using MakeCode Arcade. Okay, so to take part in today's activity, you're going to need to visit this website here, which is, it's not Linktree, it's linktr.ee/powerplants. And let me just show you what that looks like. Whee! There we go. So when you go to Linktree Power Plants, you're going to see you're going to get a few links for today's workshop. So MakeCode Arcade is a free piece of software that we're using. If you click on that big button, that's just going to take you to the website itself. So let me just click on it and I'll show you. So this is what MakeCode Arcade looks like if it ever loads. There we go. So in here is a free piece of software. You don't need to log in. You don't need an account to use it. If you do create an account, it just allows you to have all of your projects saved in like the cloud. So you can see here I've got tons of projects ahead of me ready. But there's loads of tutorials. Like Matt, you've worked through a couple of these tutorials as well. Like they're great. But that's just to take you there. But the one that we're going to be working on today is we're going to be working on this Plant Hero Save the Meadow Unfinished. So we have a complete game that we'd like you to make. But what we're going to do is we're going to work on the broken one, or the one that needs a little bit of work. And we're going to show you how to do that. Okay, so if you click on that link, it's going to take us into this view where you can actually go and play the game. The problem is, as I said to you, it's broken. So we need to fix the game and make it our own. So whenever you have this link open, you're just going to go to the top screen here and you'll see edit code. So when we click on edit code, that means that it will create, take all of the code that we've created and all the assets and all of the sort of sprites and stuff, and now you have access to it. So hopefully you should see what I see on the screen. Okay. And what we have then is we have a little viewer, our little play controller in the left. So if you've never done MakeCode Arcade before, don't worry. I'll just take you through it really quickly. This is where you can view all of your work on the left here, okay? If we want to add a coding block in, we're going to click on categories. So categories are found in the middle here. So if I click on sprites, you can see here's all of the code that relates to a sprite. It's all mostly color coded. If I click on controller, this is all things to do with how to control your game. If I go to game, you can kind of see all of that, okay? So if at any point I say category, you'll know it's kind of this area I'm talking about. And if you cannot find a block that I'm talking about, you'll see there's a little search icon. You can search for it. So say I type in sprite, you'll see all of the code that relates to sprite or has the word sprite is there, okay? So this is like a real whiz tour of MakeCode Arcade.
Yes.
And then really, if you've never done any sort of block coding before, everything is kind of like anything with Scratch or something like that. It reads top down, okay? So any blocks that are up top will be run first, and then it kind of goes in order. If you want to add a block in, you just drag it into this area here. In MakeCode, if it's not a piece of code, like it's just a bit loose, it'll look like this sort of, I don't know, like transparent kind of yellowy color, gray even, and you can just pop it in like that, okay? And if you need to delete a block, you just drag it across here and let go, and it deletes. One thing I will say is, having a wee look at this code, this project or this game is really, really fun, but it is a wee bit too complicated to build in the time that we have. So we've kind of given you a lot of code already. One thing I will say is, if you want your game to work, probably don't delete this code, okay? Yeah. You want to keep this code, and we'll work on that together. So we don't need to really touch that code today. And if we do, I'll show you. So this webinar is live, but what you can do is you can pause at any time. So if we're going a wee bit too fast, just pause it, get caught up, and you'll be grand. Alrighty. So I think that's probably enough of a, hey, here's the game. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you a few things around that. Actually, do you know what? Let me show you the finished game. That would make more sense, so you can kind of see what we're building. Okay, so the finished game is really just, we're this little superhero, and this superhero can transform themselves into different versions. So we have this little superhero. This superhero, whenever I click on B, will change into a seed bag. So you can kind of see it looks like he's just inside a bag. And if I hit it again, it's a little rain cloud. And if I hit it again, it's a little sun, okay? And it'll circle back, and it'll tell you what each thing does. So you'll see there's little trash bags. What I have to do is I just have to hit the A button on the trash bag as the superhero. There's a slug, no! The slugs are bad. The slugs are bad because they're gonna eat our flowers. We don't want that. So if I am the little seed, I'm just gonna click on that on the dirt, plant a little seed, there it is. Then as a cloud, we're gonna water that seed so it becomes a little seedling. And then as the sun, we're going to give it energy. Oh no, I got stuck. And it's going to grow into a flower. And you'll see that the points get more and more the more flowers we have. Now, the issue is I spoke so long, I ran out of time. So I'm just going to hit A and talk you through this. Okay, so the whole point of this game is that there are slugs that will spawn randomly. They're going to try and eat the flowers that are already there. Okay, and we want to clear the rubbish. So there's one there, you see. We want to clear the rubbish and see how many flowers can we plant in 60 seconds or protect. So that's the kind of idea of this game. Alrighty, I thought that was kind of important just to show you what the game looks like first, and then we can work on getting our game to that point. Alrighty, I'll just stop that because it's just going to be like like singing as we go. Yeah, exactly. So we're back in our unfinished game. So the first thing that we need is we need our sprite. We don't have a little sprite. You'll see here we have everything else that makes it up. We have something called a tile map, okay? So a tile map is just our level. If you have a look, that looks crazy, but if I turn the walls off, this is our level. This is where we can kind of go and explore. You'll see we've got our little trash bags, little trees, little rocks. We've got a beautiful river here that Matt designed. It's so cool. Most of the stuff you're seeing, Matt's designed here. So what we've got is, it's great. So what we have is we have our level, okay? And that's where we're going to explore, but we need our player first. So first block that we're going to add is if we go to sprites, and the very first one says set my sprite to sprite of kind player. Everything we're adding is going to go directly into the on start block unless I tell you otherwise, okay? And it's always going to go underneath, because it's really important that we have the background first and then the character. So instead of my sprite, that's a terrible name for a sprite, I'm going to click on this and we're going to see that there are a few that are already here, a few names that we can pick from. So our superhero is called Plant Hero. So let's click on set Plant Hero to, and then we're going to change these. All right. So in sprite, we have this little square. This is where we can go and change what way our sprite looks. Okay, so let's click on that together. And you'll see what happens is it opens up a little like editor. So If you want, you can go and draw your own sprite and create your own superhero, okay? But for now, I'm just going to click on My Assets at the top, and you'll see that there already is a bunch of these superhero forms already in the game. The one that we want to start off with is the one that just looks like the normal hero with the cape, because that's going to be starting off our game. So I'm just going to click, it doesn't matter which one, left or right, that you want to click on, because that's just to do with him walking about. So I'm just going to click on this little character. You could recolor it if you want to, so you can just click on the little fill tool and fill that in, but just be aware that there is a left and a right one. So if you change the left one, you're going to have to edit the right one to match. So I'm just going to hit done. And then we have our little sprite. So if I go full screen here, you can see there's our lovely little sprite ready to go right in the middle. All right. And what we need to do is we need to add some controls to our sprite, because we want to be able to move him about, because currently he doesn't do anything. So I'm going to click on controller in the categories. And the very first one says move my sprite with buttons. This is my favorite block, because in Scratch, this takes about 20 blocks to do, whereas in MakeCode, it's one. It's so good. So I'm going to click that. Remember, everything's going in on start and underneath the previous code. And you've probably guessed that there is no my sprite, so everything is very important that it relates back. So you'll see it even give me a little warning here to say there is no my sprite. So I'm just going to click on that, and you've probably guessed we're going to do plant hero, because this relates to our plant hero. And then if I go full screen here, you'll see that using the buttons on the controller, sorry, we can move our sprite. Now you'll notice the water you can't pass. That's because we can't go in the water, and same for trees. They're like walls or obstacles, so you kind of need to go around those. But the issue is, when I try to go off the screen, it doesn't really, it doesn't follow. Okay, so in games, normally your character's in the middle of the screen and the background will move with you. So we should probably do that. Otherwise, this is not going to be a very fun game. Okay, like I said, everything's broken, so we need to fix it. So what we're going to do is we're going to say, go to scene. That's the little one that looks like a Christmas tree. And you'll see about a couple of them down, you'll see one that says camera follow sprite. Okay, so there's just a little camera. That's really what we can see as the viewer. I'm going to click on that, and you've guessed it, it's going inside on start at the bottom, and my sprite doesn't exist. So I'm going to click on my sprite and go to plant hero. And then I'm going to keep going full screen because I think it's a wee bit easier to see. You'll see now that as I move, the camera moves with me, so I can actually go and explore this little world that we have, this meadow that we have to save, okay? So that's great. Hopefully that's all worked. Again, if you're stuck or not sure, you can hit pause at any time. I'll just get rid of that wee link now. So let me just zoom in a little bit too. I realize that's quite hard to see. That's better. So we have our sprite made, we have our move with buttons, and we have our camera follow sprite. Now, one thing that works really well already is that our sprite always starts in the top left of the game. I think it's really fun to kind of randomize where they start. And I think it's more interesting because you'll get to explore more areas of the map. So what we're going to do is we're going to tell it that we're going to ask it to place our sprite on a random grass tile so that we start in a random part of the map. So let's go to scene, because this is all to do with the background. Scroll down. I think it's down quite a bit. There's tile maps. We're going to tile map operations. And you'll see we've got to place my sprites. The first one is place it in a very particular place, very particular area, or random. And I love a bit of chaos, so I love random. So I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to bring that underneath, right here. And my sprite doesn't exist, so I'm going to click on Plant Hero. And instead of this little grey block, we're going to click on that, and you'll see that this brings up all of the tiles that make up our tile map. And the one we're looking for is one that just sort of looks like a little green and yellow one. I'm just double checking. Just this one here, okay? There is two of those. So we're just going to click on the one that has the most yellow in it, okay? Because I think that's where most of the grass is. And if your game goes like this, where mine has, where it's gone grayed out, you can just hit this little refresh button and that will reload the game. Alrighty. So there we go. So if I hit refresh, you can see that my little character starts in all these random places. Just adds a little bit of fun, a little bit of chaos, which is fun. Okay, so the last thing that we're going to tell our little sprite to do is we're going to say, when it first opens, we need our game to kind of tell us a bit about how to play it, okay? So what I mean is we need to let the players know what our current costume or our current superhero form does. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to sprites, and we're going to scroll down until you can see one that says say, and it has a little smiley face on it. So just here it says my sprite say. We're going to drag that in and add it underneath. Instead of my sprite, we want our plant hero to say it. And we just want to give a little hint as to what this current form does, and that is clear the bin bags. Because that's what this form can do, is they can clear the bin bags away. Now the issue is, and you'll see it on my screen, as soon as we add this in, our little player just says this forever, okay? It doesn't actually go away, and I want it to go away. And instead of just saying, go away, I need to code it to do it, alrighty? So beside where we've typed that, you'll see there's a little plus symbol. If I just click on that, you'll see that now it's going to stay up for a certain amount of time. So because this is a little sentence and we kind of want it to be read, I'll give you a little hint. 500 milliseconds is half a second. So it probably needs to stay on the screen for about a second. So if we click on the little drop down, you'll see there's 1 second and it'll change to 1000. But 1000 milliseconds is just a second. So you can see, there we go, and it disappeared. And that's really important. And it's up to you. If I just load that again, you can see it just says clean the bin bags. If we turn on animation, as in change it to true, you can see here that what happens then is it kind of comes up like that. And I think that's pretty cool. Like a little sort of quick, I don't know, like it looks like the character's saying it rather than just, appearing. Yeah, it's pretty fun. So
cool.
We're going to come back to on start, because right now I'm going to pass over to Matt, because what we're going to do is Matt is actually going to take you through how to bring in some enemies. So like I said, if you have a wee look at our game currently, we have our little character. When I hit button B, you'll see that it flips between all of the costumes that we have, okay? So if you're playing on a computer, you can hit the enter key to get B. And what we have is whenever it's a person and we hit button A, the bin bags disappear and there's soil. When we're the seed, we plant the seed. When we're a cloud, it makes that. So you have to always be standing on top of the tile. And we have our final form, which is a flower. And that's a good game, but it's not dramatic enough. We need an enemy, okay? And just to let you know that some insects like help plants, like grow like bees and butterflies and ladybirds, but there are other insects that can really harm plants, like aphids and slugs, or like invasive species, okay? They eat all the seeds and the flowers. So all creatures are really important and they have a role, but balance is important to keep nature in harmony, okay? And so what we're trying to say is we need a bad guy, but slugs aren't really a super bad guy. So we're not going to kill the slugs or anything. We're just going to be like, we're going to make some slugs and they're going to cause us some problems. Because I think that's what slugs do. They just cause some problems.
Yes.
Isn't it?
It's like where you can get the slug repellents that go around flowers and stuff. Just to keep them away. Keep them away. They let them grow.
Exactly. So Matt, I'm going to hand over to you, who's going to show us just how to do that. So that's you on screen. You go ahead.
That's great, folks. Well, hello to you all. Here we have the on start block, but because this is a whole new character, we're just going to open up a brand new wee block now to work on. And what we go to for that is just go to game. And it's the second one down here, this on game update every. And because we've tried and tested it, we're just going to change this 500 milliseconds to, it's a bigger number, but 8000. So 8,000. Okay. And now everything in this block will be referring to our slug. So the very first thing we'll do, a lot just like our little plant hero, we'll just go to sprites, and the very top one here, set my sprite, and just nestle that right in there. And because it's coming up again, as Ruth had said about before, the sprite, my sprite doesn't exist, so we can just change that from our dropdown to slug. And a lot like the plant hero, where it says plant hero the whole way down, this will say the same, but slug the whole way down. And it isn't going to be a player, it's going to be our enemy. So all the code for enemy will go towards this little guy that we'll make now. And we had the plant hero ready to go, but what I'd like to do with you is, if you click on the gray square, we can now go and just design it. And again, like if you follow along with this, you can make it whatever color you like. You can do whatever kind of slug interpretation that you'd like. But if you follow along just for this little beat, and with everything in MakeCode, it's just like a wee representation. So here I'll just do a wee slug, and just keep it in mind, I'm on my little pencil tool up here, and I thought this is a nice little sluggy color. So I'll just do something along the lines of this. And you can color in as you go along, but we also have the little paint bucket tool right up here. And you can just click in spaces like that and it fills it in quickly. And let's see, if you didn't like a certain point, you can go to the little rubber and rub out parts as well, only if you like. But that was his wee head, so I'll just include this back in. And from just trial and error, I was thinking of how could we make something like this look a little bit more like a little character. So we could add something. If you look on a slug and it has different little antennas working away, quite a few of them have different color, kind of just the tops of their heads. So I thought something like this. And also on the bottom on a slug's belly, it's often like a yellow or orangey kind of color. So what I thought was a little bit of orange on his belly. And this will make sense as you go along, and you can see how the wee finished article looks then. But there you are, that might be nice there for his wee belly. And then there's a lighter purple. And what's nice about these two being so similar for this, you can add in little dots just sporadically, just anywhere you like. And it just kind of acts as a wee slime that's on them. Because if you see slugs in the garden or anywhere, you can just see the little trail that they leave behind. So there you are, there's just a wee representation of some wee sludge. So that could be our slug. So there he is, he's now our little
He's so
slug.
cute.
He's nice, and like that's the thing, that's what we're saying. He's not a bad guy. He's down as an enemy, but he's not overly a bad guy. But there you are, you just press done, and I just named him Slug, just to keep him all in line with what we're going on here. And now, next what we'll do, we'll add in what is his purpose in the game. Like we'll add in a few wee beats now. So the next thing is if you just go to scene, the wee one with the Christmas tree, and with these little headings here, screen and camera, I want you to go down to tile map operations just here. And we are now taking this similar one that Ruth had showed us, and we're just saying placing him at random. So here we are, we'll place him in. I'll just zoom in a bit here. And again, wee warning symbol comes up. We just change that to slug. And then what we're saying is place him on top of, and then we've got the drop down here for the assets that we've already made. And we're going to choose this little rock. As you can see, it's a wee rock formation, because slugs in the garden would be under rocks and everything, so they'd always appear from nowhere. But you can kind of tell there's going to be lots of slugs under here. So seeing as the rocks are littered all over our tile map, all over our game, we're just going to say they just appear, they form out of anywhere that the rocks are. So now that we've got our little slug, he's matched up under this here, we now just need to see what speed he's going to go at. And there, once you go to sprites, we're just down to here, and it's velocity to Vx and Vy. So this one, under physics, the very first one, we just drag this out. So again, and you'll notice this with MakeCode, it's just always, you're just always pairing up so it makes sense to the game. And what we found, slugs move very slowly. I mean, it's well known that they're slow. So through trial and error, we saw that 50 kind of had them going around the screen a bit too fast. So what we did here, if you click on the 50, you can use the wee dial to bring it down to 10 and on the same side. So it's just going the same speed wherever it goes. It doesn't go quicker this way or quicker up. It's going the same speed the whole time. So we just change that to 10 and 10. So now we're starting to form what the character is going to be doing throughout the game. And the next wee beat now keeps him in the game. So you just go to sprites, and if you pan down, and you'll just see the word bounce. So just here, so under effects, you go right down, and it's this wee second one here saying on. So you take this, drag it out. The final wee thing now is just to say slug, keeping that loop on, which means that he'll constantly just be within the game. He wouldn't go out of the game because he's constantly going to be in the tile map, in our meadow, trying to eat our flowers. And that's where, once a lot of them appear, we have to get planting, we have to get seeding, we have to get watering, we have to get the sun before they go around and eat all of our hard work. But folks, that is everything that we need to know for the slug, and that is him now coded into the game. So Ruth, you can work your magic now with this little character.
Brilliant. Thank you, Matt. So I was following along, so I've got my on-game update, and I'm just noticing we've got some slugs coming in. You can see them all. So because they're bouncing off the wall, there they are. So they are bouncing off the wall, which is they're going to bounce because they don't go into the water. They won't go in the river. They're just going to bounce along. But you'll notice that whenever it crosses over our flower, nothing happens. That's because we haven't coded it to happen. So what we're going to do is we're going to code it that when the slug overlaps with the flower, then it's going to make the flower disappear, and it's going to take away a point because we are trying to keep as many flowers alive as possible. So let's do that little bit of code now. So what we need to do is, this is all to do with the background again, because the flower is in the background. So we're going to click on scene, which is on the left. Remember our categories. We're going to scroll down. Now what we're looking for is something similar to what Matt added in the on-game update. These are called containers. They look a little bit different because they can contain code. So if I click on scene, we're going to look for something that looks like a little container. And we can see under tile maps, they're just right here. So this is just on sprite of kind player. So when the player, or we can change that, overlaps with a certain tile, something will happen. Okay, so let's click on that and drag it into an empty space. I know we're filling up quite a lot. There's a lot of code. So just try and find a little empty space. And instead of the player overlapping, remember it's our slug. And Matt had told us to change this to enemy up here. So I'm going to click on if any enemy overlaps. And this is just going to be for the flowers. They could do it for the seeds, but we're just going to stick with the flowers. So when we click on that little drop down, you'll see if you hover over them, it should say flower, just to help make it a bit easier. So it's just that little flower tile. And what we're going to do is we're going to tell it that when that happens, it's going to change the flower to a little dirt patch because the flower has been eaten. And then also it's going to take a point away. So I'm going to click on scene and we're going to scroll down. Let me see where this is. We're looking for set it at a certain location. So you'll see here we have set and then this tile and at tile map a certain location. Okay, so we're going to drag this in and pop it inside that little container. And remember I said about it being the dirt patch, so we want to click on that, hover over the little dirt patch, and you can see it's just called dirt. Just be careful you don't add the seed one in. Although I suppose you're just giving yourself a heads up that you've already planted a seed, but I don't think slugs leave a seed whenever they eat a plant. So we're just going to click on dirt. And you'll notice what I want to do is I want to tell it that where the slug but like, you know, hit the flower is the location that we want. So you can see here, on sprite of kind enemy overlaps flower at location. If I hover over this, you'll notice this is actually a button that I can click on. This is something that a lot of people don't realize. So instead of setting it at a location, because we have a lot of flowers about, I don't know which flower it is that's been hit, whereas the game does. So instead of this, I'm going to click on location, drag it down, and pop it inside this area. You can even see it's kind of like magnetically attached. So what that means is where this slug eats the flower, at that exact location, it's going to swap it out and it's going to be a little dirt patch instead. So I'm going to leave this game running, so hopefully a slug will come and eat a flower and we can test it. The only problem is we can't really spawn the slugs in the right place, but sure. Just trust me, that definitely works. And then remember, we want to tell it to take a point off us because the slugs have eaten a flower. So I'm going to go to info in the categories. Info is where our score and our timer and everything is. And we're going to say, instead of set score to, because that will reset the score, we want to change the score. And we want to take a point off, not add a point on. You don't get a point for slugs destroying flowers. So I'm going to click on it and I'm going to do -1. So as the slugs eat, they're going to take a point off every flower. And you'll notice that on the right here, all this code is crazy, but this is just basically do it in this order. And you'll see that when our plant hero actually creates a flower, you'll see that that increases the score by 1. So the more flowers you plant, the better your score will be. But the more slugs that eat your flowers, the worse your score will be. Alrighty. And then we just have one more thing, which is how do we actually stop these slugs? So look, there's some slugs kind of going about. I'm just trying to see, will one actually go to the floor? Oh, no. I mean, we'll just sit for half an hour and wait for it to hit the floor. But I don't think they're going to go. They're kind of stuck in a wee loop. So what we need to do is we need to find a way to stop these slugs. So we're not going to destroy them. We're not going to kill them. We're just going to say that when we bump into them, it's going to just make them disappear. But we're going to imagine that we kind of let them loose somewhere else in the garden.
Yes,
okay?
just shoot them off. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Shoo, go away.
Yeah.
So we're looking for a very similar container as to this one. So it's this sort of shape, but this time it's nothing to do with the background. This is all to do with sprites. It's our sprite interacting with the sprite of the slug. So I'm going to click on sprites, scroll down and see if I can see something about bumping into or overlaps. So you can see in the very first section of overlap, we have on sprite of kind player overlaps another player. So I'm going to bring that into another section, just another blank area. And what we need to do is we need to say that when our sprite of kind player overlaps with not another player, with the enemy, then what it's going to do is it's going to destroy the other sprite. So let's go to sprites and you'll see if we scroll down, there'll be destroy my sprite. Yes, so we're just going to click on that and bring it in and pop it inside. But obviously we don't want it to destroy. We don't want it to be that when the slug bumps into us, we get destroyed. That makes no sense unless it's like a big Godzilla sized slug. That would make sense. But these are just little slugs in the garden. Yeah. So instead of that, instead of changing this to slug, this is probably the hardest part. So instead of changing this to slug, the problem is we have multiple slugs in the game. So if I change that to slug, it would destroy a random slug, not the slug that I bumped into. Okay? So you'll see on sprite of kind player overlaps this other sprite. The same as what we did with location. We're going to click on other sprite and pop that in instead, because it's basically we're saying when you bump into this particular slug, only destroy that particular slug. And you'll see that you might get this little thing that pops out. Don't worry, we can just delete that. We don't need that anymore. And then as a little bit, the cool thing about MakeCode is it has all these really cool animation features and stuff. If you click on this little plus symbol, you can see that you can actually destroy things with like an effect. So this is like a spray effect. So if I try and find a slug very, very quickly, you'll see that it kind of just sprays apart. It looks like snow. So I don't think spray works so well. So you can see, you can
Let's
play
see.
around. You could make them disappear with fire, or little smiles might come up because we're not killing them. But what I'm going to do is this sounds really dark. I'm just going to do either ashes or disintegrate because it kind of looks like it disappears. Okay.
That's good.
So
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll try ashes, and 500 milliseconds is quite long, so I'm going to change it to 200. That's your choice. I'm not going to tell you what to do in your own game. I'm just saying that's the way it works. So we're going to try and find a rock and see where these slugs are coming out. I might have to just let it sit for a little bit to see if I can find a slug. Where's my slugs? There's one. So let's have a look. Hey! And it just disappeared. Like a magic trick. Okay. So we're sitting pretty good there. There's just a few things that we need to fix up in our on start block now. So we have everything else to make our game work. We just need our instructions to our players. So that kind of sets the scene as to what's going to happen. And we also need to add in our timer, because we haven't added in our timer and things. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to move these blocks down a little bit. And we're just going to add these in now. Okay, so nice and quick. Again, if I'm going too fast, you can just pause it. So what I'm going to do is we're going to add in these long text. And at the top, you're going to see that these are in. These are just the instructions that have been written. You can change them. I just thought it was quicker to include them than to get you to type them out. So I'm just going to pop these in underneath. This is the first thing we're doing out of order. It's not going to go to the bottom. We're going to pop it in under the tile map, because we want this to happen before our hero is created. And we have these little long texts. So you can see here, we have our instructions as to what to do, because in all games, you have instructions. You have to give context for your players. They can't just randomly start playing a game. So you can see, here we go. It tells you all your superhero forms, and then we also have some slugs to stop. All right. Now, this doesn't look very appealing. It just looks like a white box. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to game all the way to the bottom, and you're going to see there are 3 blocks we're going to add in, and it's basically these 3 blocks here. So I'm going to add in set dialogue frame 2, and again, this is going to go above our dialogue, because if we put it below, then it's just going to be white boxes. It won't apply to it. Everything that's below is what's applied. So set dialogue frame 2, click on this. I'm not going to draw it. We don't have any in my assets. Let's click on gallery. That's the first time we're clicking on that. And you'll see in here, there's a lot of different little blocks that you can pick from that will create our frame, okay? It's your choice as to which one you're going to pick. But because this is plants, I thought I'm going to pick this little one that looks like leaves. So we're going to pick that. And I'm just going to hit done. You don't need to name this one so much. It's okay to leave that blank. I'm going to hit that done. And then what we've got here is our block now has, that looks really nice. Like it ties
Beautiful.
in with the theme.
It's far better.
Yeah, it looks a lot
Lovely.
nicer. However, I think the black text is a wee bit too dark. So let's change that very quickly. So we're going to go to game, scroll down, go to set dialogue text color 2. Again, needs to go above our text boxes. And you can see here, we just have a little drop down so you can pick your colors. I'm going to pick on white because I think that's going to stand out really well. And then as a little additional thing, you'll see at the bottom right is a little tiny A button that just hovers. I think it's really cool if we're going to add our superhero in instead of that A button, because it'll give us a little hint as to what our hero looks like. So that is going to be in game. Scroll down and you'll see set dialogue cursor 2. So the cursor is just that little A button. I'm going to pop that in, click on here, and instead of going to gallery, let's go to my assets, and we can choose our little superhero, so that whenever I go to full screen, you can see instead of the A button, there's our little hero. It looks like we are being set this challenge. It's just a little extra thing to make your game look a little bit better. Okay, so we are very tight on time, but we have a couple of extra things to do here. So 1, we need to set our starting score. So if I go into our tile map, we have our score, remember, is 1 for every flower. So if I count, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 flowers. So our starting score is going to be 5. because we already have 5 that are living, just because, so then we don't get negative scores, because that wouldn't be fun. So I'm going to hit info, and you'll see set score is the one that we want this time. And we're going to put this below our text boxes. So I'm going to do set score, and we're going to put them below that little text box. And instead of being 0, we're going to change it to 5. And we're going to add in a timer. So to make this game a bit more exciting, you have a minute. Well, I'm going to start off with a minute, but you guys can change it to as long as you want. But I'm going to go to info, and I'm going to go to countdown, and you'll see start countdown. And I'm going to click on that and add it. It can go above or below. It doesn't matter here so much. I'm just going to pop it underneath set score. And instead of 10 seconds, because you'll never be able to even move in 10 seconds, I'm going to change it to 60. So basically, this game, we now have 60 seconds to play our game and see how many plants we can, or how many flowers we can save and how many we can plant. So the last thing just to show you is this little block is already in. So at the end of the game, when the countdown is over, so after 60 seconds, a little message will come up. It's meant to be like no one flower make a meadow, but we had to say many flowers make a meadow, and the game will be won, and it will display your final score. And that's what we really want. We want to see how good a score you can get. So if I go into here, and we'll see, so it's going to be, let's clear the bin bags, let's plant a seed, let's water it, let's let the sun grow, let's change form. So you can see how we were playing this earlier, and we were sharing our high scores with each other. So
if anybody can beat 7, you will beat me. So
so you just kind of go through, kind of get your plants. Haven't encountered any slugs just yet. I've got 28 seconds left. Let's go and have a wee look. I'm at 13 points. Where are all these slugs?
Let's see.
Oh, there's one. I don't want it.
There we are.
Floor. There. And then they're all up here.
Yep. Uh-oh.
So, we're sitting at 16. It might actually break my own high score here.
This is good.
Oh, no, I missed.
Oh.
So there you go. So you can see at the end, it says
very
18. Good. Wow, that's a really good score. I think the maximum you can get is 25, I think. But so it'll do it. And then the more you play, the more you can try and beat your best score. Okay, so at the end there, we have a lovely game. Let me just zoom out and show you all of this crazy code. Okay, so we have this game, right? We need to save it, because at the minute it's just saved as Plant Hero. All right, so at the very bottom of our screen, you'll see there's a little download button, but beside that is a little white box that says Plant Hero. Let's click on that, and you can change that to Plant Hero and then put your name so that it's your game. Okay, or you can call it whatever you want, but just rename your project. And then what we're going to encourage you guys to do, I'm just going to throw this little email address up. We would love it if you would build your game and customize it. So if I should show you up in the orange bar, you'll see assets. So in here, you can click on, say, these little bin bags, click on them and go to edit. You can update these to be any of your own graphics, okay? You don't need to use it. Matt and I just kind of worked on a standard game. We want to see how you can enhance it and make it your own, okay? So you can click on it. You can change all these forms. So they still need to be the sun, but you can make it look different if you want to. You can choose a different superhero. You can do a different type of slug. You can change your flowers, so you can change any of these little tiles just by editing them. And what we would love to see is what you create with this. So you can see there's an email address on the screen. We would love it if after this and you've created your own game and you're like, I really want to share it with someone. We would love to see your game, okay? And the easiest way to save it is at the very top right. You don't have to click download. At the very top right, there's this little button that looks like 3 little circles attached, like connected. That's the share button. So if you click on that, you can name your project here as well. And if I go to share project, what this will do is this generates my project as a link. So this is how you were able to access our game. I made a game I copied the link, and then when you see if I go to a new tab and paste this link in, then I'm playing my own game and it looks like a big game controller. We would love it if you could email these links that you've saved and created to our Power Plants, info@powerplants.world email address, and we would love to see your projects and see how creative you've been able to be and everything like that. But basically, that is us. So I'm just going to pop this up and just basically say thank you so much from Matt and I.
Thank you.
I hope you really enjoy it. We've had so much fun building this game.
A lot of fun.
And designing this game. And actually, genuinely, I got really stuck in, I have to beat my high score. So
yes.
we're so glad you were able to join us today. We hope you have a great time.
Thank you, folks.
We're so excited to see what you make. And yes, thank you so much. Bye, everyone.
Cheers, folks.